There is a handbag that sold at one of the most prestigious auction houses on earth. It crossed the white-gloved hands of trained authenticators, passed through climate-controlled storage vaults, appeared in a glossy catalog alongside Monet's and Faberge eggs, and was purchased by a collector who believed they were acquiring the real thing. The bag was fake. Not the kind of fake you find on a blanket in Chinatown. This was a super fake. A counterfeit so precise, so meticulously engineered, that it fooled the people whose entire reputation depends on knowing the difference. And this is not an isolated incident. It is the beginning of a crisis that threatens to unravel the entire foundation of luxury as we know it. To understand how a fake bag can fool an auction house like Christie's, start with what Christie's actually is. Founded in 1766, it is one of the oldest and most respected auction houses in human history. It has sold paintings by Leonardo da Vinci. It has handled the personal effects of monarchs and movie stars. In 2022 alone, Christie's moved $8.4 billion worth of art and luxury goods. When something carries the Christie seal, it carries 2.5 centuries of institutional credibility. That is the promise that every object has been vetted, examined, and declared authentic by the best eyes in the business. But in the last decade, Christie's and its competitors have expanded aggressively into the luxury handbag market. Birkins, Kellys, Chanel's, limited editions that now sell for more than some fine art. This expansion opened a door that no one expected because the counterfeiters were already inside. If you want to understand what this means for the future of luxury, authenticity, and trust, now would be a good time to subscribe. What comes next changes the way you look at every expensive thing you have ever bought. The word super fake entered the mainstream vocabulary around 2018, but the phenomenon had been building for years. Traditional counterfeits were easy to spot: bad stitching, wrong fonts, cheap hardware, the smell of chemical adhesive instead of premium leather. You could tell from across a room. But super fakes are an entirely different species. They use the same leathers, the same hardware alloys, the same thread weight and stitch angle. Some even replicate the specific 18-degree slant that Hermes artisans maintain across every single seam. The factories producing these bags are not sweatshops. They are sophisticated manufacturing operations, many based in southern China, staffed by workers who study authentic bags the way art students study the masters. They purchase genuine bags, deconstruct them piece by piece, analyze every material and measurement, then reverse engineer the entire production process. A super fake Hermes Birkin that, if authentic, would retail for $12,000 can be manufactured for a few $100s. The best ones sell for $2,000 to $6,000 because buyers know they are getting something that can fool experts. And here's the part that should genuinely alarm you. They are right. Authentication in the luxury resale market has always relied on human expertise. Trained specialists know what the grain of Togo leather should feel like, and they can tell from the depth of a heat stamp whether it was pressed by hand in a Paris atelier or machine-punched in Guangzhou. For decades, this worked. The gap between real and fake was wide enough that a knowledgeable eye could bridge it without difficulty. But that gap has been closing at a terrifying pace. Super fakes now copy blind stamps from bags sold on public auction listings. They track which colors Hermes produces and which leathers each year, ensuring their fakes align with legitimate production records. They replicate the wax coating on linen thread so precisely that it reflects light identically to the genuine article. Some authentication experts have admitted privately that certain super fakes can only be identified through microscopic analysis or chemical testing of the materials, neither of which is standard practice in the fast-moving world of luxury resale. This is where the auction houses become vulnerable. Christie's and Sotheby's authenticate thousands of handbags every year. Their experts are among the best in the world, but they are still human, working under time pressure, evaluating bags visually and by touch. When a consignor presents a bag with convincing provenance documentation, correct date stamps, appropriate patina, and flawless construction, the presumption of authenticity is powerful. And consignors know this. The most sophisticated counterfeit operations do not just fake the bag, they also fake the receipt, the dust cover, the box, the ribbon, the shopping bag, and even the tissue paper it was wrapped in. Every artifact of the buying experience is replicated to create a complete illusion of legitimacy. The numbers behind this industry are staggering. The global counterfeit goods market was estimated at $4.2 trillion in 2022. Luxury goods represent one of the largest segments. United States Customs and Border Protection seized nearly 23 million counterfeit items in a single fiscal year, worth over $2 billion in estimated retail value. In November 2023, federal agents executed the largest counterfeit seizure in American history, confiscating approximately 219,000 fake luxury items worth over $1 billion at retail. And these seizures represent only a fraction of what actually enters the market. The resale platforms are drowning. The Real, which built its entire brand around the promise of expert authentication, was exposed in a damning investigation that revealed copywriters with minimal training were authenticating luxury goods under crushing quotas. One former employee described being given a 5-minute presentation on what authentic items should look like, and then being told to go. Another said the pressure to meet daily targets of over 130 items meant fake merchandise routinely slipped through. When Chanel discovered counterfeits bearing its name being sold as authentic on the platform, it filed a federal lawsuit. The message was blunt. Even Chanel itself questioned whether anyone outside its own ateliers could truly distinguish real from fake. And this is the existential question at the heart of the super fake crisis. If a counterfeit is so good that trained experts cannot tell the difference, if it uses the same materials, the same construction techniques, the same everything, then what exactly makes the authentic one worth 10 or 20 times more? The traditional answer is craftsmanship, heritage, the artisan who spent hours stitching it by hand in a workshop that has operated for generations. But superfakes are eroding that answer, because when you hold two bags side by side and no one can tell which is which, the value difference starts to feel like pure abstraction. It becomes about the story, the provenance, the belief that this particular arrangement of leather and thread was blessed by the correct institution. Luxury brands are fighting back with technology. Hermes has explored microchipping its products. Blockchain-based certificates of authenticity are being tested. Artificial intelligence systems like Entropy use microscopic image analysis to detect counterfeits at a level human eyes cannot match. In 2024, brands using Entropy scanned handbags worth an estimated $1.9 billion in total resale value. The system flagged 8.4% as fake or unidentifiable. That is a lot of fakes moving through what are supposed to be trusted channels. But even these technological solutions are an arms race. As detection improves, so does manufacturing. The counterfeiters study the authentication technology the same way they study the bags themselves, and they adapt. What makes this story fascinating is not just the economics or the technology, it is what it reveals about the psychology of luxury. We do not buy a Birkin because it holds our belongings. We buy it because of what it represents. Taste, access, belonging to a world that most people are excluded from. The superfake threatens this mythology because it proves that the physical object itself is reproducible. The magic was never in the leather, it was in the story attached to the leather. And once that story becomes unreliable, once you cannot be certain whether the bag at Christie's or on your neighbor's arm is genuine, the entire system of luxury signaling starts to fracture. The irony is almost poetic. Luxury brands spent decades manufacturing scarcity and exclusivity to drive desire. They created waiting lists, allocation systems, and velvet rope rituals designed to make you feel special for being allowed to spend your money. And in doing so, they made their products so desirable that an entire shadow industry emerged to replicate not just the objects, but the feeling of owning them. The superfake is not a failure of counterfeiting, it is the logical conclusion of a system that told the world this bag will change your life, then made it nearly impossible to buy. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, consider subscribing so you do not miss future videos.